All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Baseball Podcast. And for the final segment of today's show, we are going to talk about the NL Wildcard race, go over the scores involving those teams from yesterday, and where everything currently stands at this point. So, like I said, I was on MLB Network last night. Well, not on it, but I was watching MLB Network last night because I did have the Yankees on. But once I knew the game was pretty much over and they weren't going to do anything, I turned it off. I'm like, let me go see what's going on with the other scores, see what MLB has. And usually when I watch them, like they'll flip through different games. But this time they had, like I said, they had like the quad box going. It was like it was red zone basically. And yeah, at certain points they put on the Blue Jays Yankees game, so I was forced to watch it. I changed the channel to get away from it, but yeah, so I got to see Alejandro Kirk hit a home run to make it like 6-1. They ended up losing. It ended up being 7-1, but yeah, it's just been a rough year, and hopefully this is the last one that they have for a while. But who knows? But let's get into more important things. So regarding the NL wildcard race, so I mean, it's crazy right now. It's mayhem because you have so many teams that are neck and neck with each other. You don't even know what it's going to end up being at the end of the year. So we'll go through the scores and then we'll talk about the standings. So the Cubs, they've had a rough stretch, 2-8 in their last 10. Back home at Ridley, get right game against the Pirates, and they came out with their hair on fire. They scored 2 runs in the bottom of the first, 2 in the bottom of the second, 1 in the bottom of the third, 1 in the bottom of the sixth. And then they end up scoring 8 runs in the bottom of the eighth. They end up winning 14-1 over the Pirates. And so we'll go through the scoring summary. So Dansby Swanson, he started off the game with a 2-run home run to put them up 2-0. Then you had Patrick Wisdom. He had an RBI double. Horner, he had a sacrifice fly, so that put them up 4-0. Saiai Suzuki hit a home run, his 19th of the year, put them up 5-1. Alexander Canario, now not Candelario, he got hurt, so he's not playing at the moment. But Alexander Canario, he had an RBI double, also had a grand slam, and Cody Bellinger hit his 26th. So I was talking about how he was struggling. He hit his 26th home run of the season, a 3-run home run. And then Jared Young had an RBI triple. So that made it 14-1. Excuse me. So yeah, the Cubs, they had a performance that was much needed. But yeah, I think Canario, I think, is somebody that they literally just brought him up. And grand slam in his first game. Not a bad thing for your major league debut, and especially at Wrigley Field in a playoff race. It's huge, and so Cubs get a big win there. And the pitching did very well. Only gave up 1 run yesterday. So yeah, much needed win for the Cubs as they're trying to get themselves back on the right track. They're at 79-72 now on the season. So then some of the other games. So you had the Giants and the Diamondbacks playing each other. I talked about that briefly. Zach Gallen picked up his 16th win on the season, improving to 16-8 with a 3.6 ERA. But yeah, it got off to a rough start, as I talked about. Lamonte Wade Jr. started off the game with a triple. Then there was a sac fly. Then Jock Peterson hit a solo home run. So before you knew it, the Diamondbacks were down 2-0. And as I did mention before, so Zach Gallen was 11-2 with a 2.18 ERA at home entering that game. And Jock Peterson was 2 for 21 against Zach Gallen, and he ended up hitting a home run. But yeah, then the Diamondbacks, they put up an 8 spot, and they ended up beating the Giants 8-4, improving to 80-72 on the season. Alex Cobb for the Giants ended up leaving the game with an injury. So, yeah, that's some news there. But yeah, Tommy Pham, after they were down 2-0, he had a force out that scored a run. Corbin Carroll had a 2-run double, so that was huge, putting him up 3-2. And then there was a throwing error that led to 2 runs being scored to put them up 5-2. Then Ketel Marte, he had an RBI single that scored a couple of runs, so that put them up 7-2. And then Giants tacked on a couple runs, and then there was a sac fly by Moreno that put the Diamondbacks up 8-4, and that ended up being the final score. So that was a big win for them. Then you had the Marlins playing the Mets, and I did catch the ending of that game. So it was 3-1 Marlins the whole time. We got to the 9th inning, so that's when I was really watching. So yeah, but before that, so Lindor started off the game with the single that scored a run. Josh Bell had an RBI double. Xavier Edwards had an RBI single. Garrett Hampson, he had an RBI single as well. So that put them up 3-1. Then you're in the 9th inning, and Nimmo comes up to the plate, and he ropes an RBI double into right center. That scored 2 runs. So that ended up tying the game into the bottom of the 9th inning. And then, so that wasn't good for the Marlins. But then you had Jake Berger come up with guys on base, and he laced an RBI single into center field, and that ended up being the game. Marlins win in walk-off fashion 4-3, and Jake Berger was the hero there. One of my favorite players in the league just because of his name, and yeah, like, since and he was good with the White Sox, and I think this was a good trade that the Marlins made. But yeah, so in 44 games with the Marlins, he's got 8 home runs, 24 RBIs. He's batting .310, .366 on-base percentage, .524 slugging, and an .890 OPS. So that was a very good trade that the Marlins made. And, he's going to be a big component for them going down the stretch. The Marlins want to get themselves into the playoffs. But a couple of news on them as well on the injury front. So Luis Arraez actually hurt himself in pregame warm-ups, they were saying, before the game. So he didn't play. And if I don't know the extent of the injury. Hopefully it's not too serious and he's back because, this guy's going to win the batting title. How he's been this season. Right now he's batting .354 on the season. I mean, he was batting .400 at one point, but then obviously it wasn't going to be he wasn't going to maintain that because that's just like impossible. I mean, could it have happened? I mean, who knows? But he got him. But .354 is still very good. But yeah, he's been great for them. 10 home runs, 69 RBIs on the season, 865 OPS. But yeah, .354 batting average is just ridiculous. And it really does make you wonder why the Twins let this guy go. I don't know. I mean, there's always a reason behind it. I don't know, but I don't know why. I feel like the Twins should have kept him because they, I think they could use him this year. I mean, I know they're going to win the division, but I mean, I feel like that's a player you shouldn't let go. But whatever. But yeah, that was a big win for the Marlins. So yeah, so Arraez is hurt. Also Alcantara, it's gonna be tough on. It's gonna be tough on if he comes back because he's dealing with an injury right now, a forearm injury, I believe. So we'll just have to wait on that. But big win for the Marlins. So now when you look at the wild card standings, so you got the Phillies at the top. They lost 9-3 to the Braves yesterday. You got the Diamondbacks at 80-72. You got the Cubs at 79-72. So right now, and the Diamondbacks have won 4 in a row. Cubs got a big win last night, as I said. Marlins are a half game back. Reds are 1 game back. The Giants are 3 games back. Got the Padres 5.5 games back. They still got a chance. But yeah, that's how it is right now in the National League, and it's gonna, again, like I talked about with the AL West, it's going to be a roller coaster. You have no idea who it's going to be. I mean, I said it was going to be the Reds and the Marlins, or the Marlins. Right now, the Diamondbacks, they hold that second spot. Cubs right now have the third, so they got to be careful, or they could find themselves on the outside looking in. And I really thought that they were, a lock to get the second spot, but then they went 2-8 and they're in 10 games, and now they sit where they are right now. And you got all these teams. Giants are kind of their hopes are kind of slipping away right now, and now they're 3 games back. So I think that's kind of tough for them to come back from. But I think really you just have to look at the 4 teams: the Cubs, the Diamondbacks, Marlins, and Reds. Now, can the Giants ride the ship and get themselves right back in it? It's possible, because it seems like something's always changing with this, So, but they got to turn it around soon, otherwise they're going to be eliminated. But they got 9 games until they're eliminated, so they got to win games, and they got to hope that teams ahead of them don't win, because that only makes that number go down lower. But yeah, it's crazy. But the last wild card spot, whoever gets it's not going to get to 90 wins, most likely. Because the Cubs aren't going to go undefeated the rest of the way. The Diamondbacks aren't. Marlins can't win 90 games. Reds have 74 losses. Giants have 75. And the Padres, actually, looking at them, they've won 6 in a row now. But the Padres, a lot of those one-run games that they've lost, if they would have just flipped some of those, they'd be right there. Now, they still have a chance. It's a very slim chance, but I don't see it happening. But that's one of those teams that I'll have to touch upon, and go over, what went wrong and things like that. But yeah, that's the NL Wildcard race. And, we'll see what happens tonight as these teams continue their series. The Cubs, against the Pirates, they should, take that series. The Pirates, they got off to a hot start, but they haven't been a good team this year. Diamondbacks, I think they should take the series against the Giants. And then, the Reds and the Marlins. The Marlins are playing the Mets, so they should do well against them. Right now, you got Perez and Kodai Senga tonight, so that's going to be, there's going to be a tough matchup again for the Marlins. And then you have, Justin Steele's pitching tonight for the Cubs, so that's good. I think the Cubs should win. The Marlins, it's going to be tough with Senga on the mound. You got Logan Webb and for the Giants, and then you got Merrill Kelly going for the Diamondbacks, who's 11-7 on the season. And then the Twins and the Reds, they continue their series tonight. You got Ober against Green tonight. So the Reds need to win if they want to keep pace, with this wild card race. But that's pretty much it when it comes to the wild card race. We'll go into it more again tomorrow, recap the games, how the teams did. And yeah, that's pretty much the show for today. And like I said, I will record the Patreon right after this, so that will be out. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the show today. I thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow again, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, so make sure to tune in for that on this channel. And, on both YouTube channels. They stream on the GSMC Sports Network and the GSMC Podcast Network. So, yeah, it was a great show as always. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure to leave a comment, subscribe, and like the video. Also, the show from yesterday is up and broken down into 4 segments. So if you missed anything, you could go check those out, so you don't have to skip around on the live stream to try to look for them. They're all right there. They're all on both channels. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for watching. And I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Baseball Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.